It is fight month, Battlefield Fight League 80, and we've got three questions with the president back at you here. I'm joined with Battlefield Fight League President Jay Golshani. Jay, thanks for joining me today, man.
No problem.
Now, let's get right into it. Fight month, as we said, it's an absolutely stacked fight card. We've got welterweight title, 165-pound title, featherweight title, bantamweight title, the RMF title, which you guys are calling it, and then a slew of amateur titles as well. So let's get into it. The first question I have for you, BFL 80 is stacked. And, like BFL 50 was stacked, and that's how it all, everything sort of led up to 50, and then you kept progressing, and things just kept getting better and better and better and better. How does this fight card stack up to every other fight card you've had, and would you say it's the best to date?
It is the best to date, and we wanted to the BMF title. Um, we didn't hear back yet, but I think UFC has a copyright on it, so that's why we're doing the RMF title. Um, yeah, 4 title fights, and then obviously those are all crazy. Um, Ash versus Ash
Yeah.
for the RMF title, and then you got obviously Tremaine versus Jayden Martin, uh, Ouellette versus you got Aso Palani on the card. We got every card is big. Every card has this. Every fight is big. Every fight has a storyline going into it. I would say this is more stacked than the card we had the night before UFC in Vancouver, which was like killed it on UFC Fight Pass in ratings. That was a
Yeah.
stacked card, but this is bigger. This is a bigger card. Like from the beginning to the end, every fight is big.
And I know, West Coast and British Columbia fans know what these fighters are all about. And obviously, you're bringing in talent from Mexico and from the East Coast and whatnot. Would you say this is the most stacked fight card in Canadian history?
On the regional scene, yes,
Yeah.
but obviously, yeah, on the regional scene, even some of the non-regional cards, like when WSOF came here, with all the injuries they had, it didn't end up being really stocked because a lot of their fights ended up being local guys going on that card. So, and I would say on the regional scene, yes, it is 4 title fights, and then 3 more very meaningful pro fights on it. So I would say, yeah, yes, it is.
All right. Let's get to the second question. You touched on it a little bit there. Ash versus Ash. We've got the RMF title. Tell the people what RMF stands for, how this fight even came about, because, Ash has been around since the early days of Battlefield. And he's picking up wins. He beat Dario. Dario is above him in the rankings, which he doesn't seem to like from the interviews that I saw. So how did this fight come about? Because Ashton Charlton has only fought once for you, and he lost. So where does this all play into things with the RMF title?
Well, Ash like speaks for itself. Like he's got, I think, 16 BFL fights, maybe 15, maybe this is his 16th. But I mean, if you've seen him from his amateur days, if there was a BMF or RMF title, if you ask all the fighters fans, if they had to pick like just 3 guys, he would always be one of them, right? And if you watch Ashton Charlton fight, maybe you haven't seen a lot of his fights in Pacific Northwest, but he's the same. He comes, gets in your face at the weigh-ins. He goes in to finish. Like Ash, 90% of his fights end in round 1. That's Ash Mishreggi. Ash Charlton, 90% of his fights end in round 1. So this is the BMF fight. And after what happened at the UFC this weekend, I mean, that title is more meaningful now. It's not a one-off for us either. I mean, I've already had a bunch of fighters saying, hey, I want to fight the winner after, right? I want that
Yeah.
title. So this is going to be like an ongoing thing. Hopefully the winner comes out healthy, and then we can keep it going.
And RMF stands for?
Ruthless MF. Yeah,
Mother
that's what.
effer. And
Yeah.
can you say who some of these people are that want to fight for the title after this?
Well, it's a lot of people want to fight for it, but I mean they kind of train together because of that. So you kind of count. So it depends who wins, right? Like I mean, yeah, kind of
Yeah.
everybody around that weight wants a piece of that title. Who is even the champions, right? So we'll see what happens.
And these two guys, like obviously it's marketable. The UFC with the BMF title, they initially didn't want they didn't think the guy would defend it. Basically, they thought, it's one-off title shots. We could put it in a women's division and whatnot. Will this be a one-off thing in terms of like the winner of this will be defending it, or will there be multiple RMFs at different weight classes?
Well, it depends, like on the fighter situation. Like Ashton, although he's coming off a loss, he's still 7-2,
Yeah.
all first round finishes. So obviously, his coach, like, we have to ask if they want to do a title fight. Like 2 days ago, we just decided on the fly. They said yes. So it depends. I mean, if he looks impressive, he might still go to a contender series at 8-2, 7. But if they don't and they don't fight for the actual 165 or one, because this is right in between one, like 165, 170, and these guys can both fight 165 and 170.
Yeah.
So if they don't fight for the world title and they win, they'll be defending this title. Depends how that all plays out.
And it could be at different weight. Like, could you have a 135 RMF title fight?
If the guys in that weight class make sense. Right now, what made sense was these two guys. So it just happened to be in the most stacked weight class that we have also.
And are they both on the brink of title contention?
Well, Ash wants to drop down to 165 and fight the winner of Dario and Rodrigo if they stay in that weight class. Um, and again, with Ashton, he's got to kind of decide after right if he wants to stay at welterweight or go to 155 for UFC. But if he wins, yeah, he'd probably 165 on the regional scene makes the most sense for him. A big win might put him in title contention at 165 or 170. Yes.
For sure. All right, the third question I got for you, and it's got to be Jayden versus Christian. Jayden Martin versus Christian Tremaine. This one's getting all the talk. I've interviewed both guys. Trash talk started right from the get-go. Jayden didn't seem to know where it came from. Christian gave the backstory on that, and I actually didn't even know until today when I saw a video that you guys put out that it was being fought at 180 because Christian wants Jayden to go down to 180 rather than 185. Did you know there was bad blood when this fight got made, or did you find that out during that interview process?
Um, I don't know if there was bad. Well, no, I didn't know there was that much bad blood. But I mean, Tremaine wanted the fight, and then just briefly spoke to him and I said, "Well, the weight class doesn't make like it's different, right? The guy is in a different weight class." And he's like, "Well, I don't care." Like, and he's been fighting heavier in FLA anyways, right?
Yeah,
I think he was scheduled to fight for Christian Savoy at
yeah,
170 or 85 for one of their titles. He's been fighting heavy. Um, so I guess it's a matter of like obviously on paper, not on paper, like it's a fact. Sherman has been fighting tougher guys, but the reason Jayden Martin hasn't been fighting tougher guys is first of all he hasn't been fighting; he's been injured,
yeah,
right? And again, with a lot of these entry level pro guys coming out of the BFL amateurs, everybody seems to duck them, right? So it's not like everybody was signing up to fight him, so he took every fight he could, but it's yeah they Tremaine thinks he's been fighting cans and this and now they get to fight and we'll get to find out it's like a striker versus grappler kind of fight, right?
which Jayden doesn't think is the case because he feels like he's also a grappler. Christian's never seen him grapple. How do you see this fight playing out? And is you put out that poll on Instagram of what everybody's most excited for, and this one came out like arguably at the very top of the list. Is this the fight that you're looking forward to most, other than the title fights as well?
Yeah, but by striker versus grappler, that's not what I meant. Essentially what I mean is Martin's easiest path to victory obviously is to keep it on the feet,
Yeah,
and Tremaine is on the ground. It's not that like um, Jayden wouldn't be equivalent to a high level purple or a brown belt. I mean, everybody knows he's good on the ground, but I mean, Tremaine is a grappler, so he would. I don't think he's going to try to stand in this fight either. But yeah, I'm excited about that fight, but not like I mean, in terms of besides the four title fights, right? Because the four title fights, you have to be excited about those because they're such high level, every single one of them,
yeah.
right? Um, Then you got the RMF fight, so you got to be excited for that. And then you got Batra and Ouellette, so
Willette.
that's gonna get crazy, right?
Yeah.
And then you got Adam Posner, which is taking a huge step up. That's what people don't realize. Going from the people who's been fighting, going to a David Briones, it's like going from a good pro that he fought last, which would let's say going from like a Rafael Ouellette at featherweight to a Jamie Siraj.
Yeah.
He's taking that kind of leap in terms of the experience of his opponent. So it's not going to be a walk in the park for him. So obviously I'm excited about that fight. And then you got guys coming up like Plani. Every fight on the card I'm excited about. But in terms of the hype going in, for sure, it's probably going to be that fight because those two guys are not going to stop talking until they get into the cage.
Exactly. All right. That does it for us. That was 3 questions. I'm not going to take up much more of your time. We're going to do this a couple more times before the fights happen on May 9th. But Battlefield Fight League 80, May 9th, the most stacked card in Battlefield Fight League history, possibly in regional Canadian history. And you can watch it live on UFC Fight Pass. Jay, thanks for joining me today, man. Hopefully we can get one cracked out next Tuesday.